I want to ask you something. What if I told you that what you think you see on the tennis court isn't real? What if I told you that all the struggle you feel on the court, hitting a ball, losing a match, fighting with your coach, your parents, yourself, is an artificial struggle created in your mind? What if I told you that the moment you stop forcing, stop trying, stop looking for the answer, and start seeing what is right in front of you, that everything, your backhand, your forehand, your life, transforms? If we haven't met before, I'm Jabron, and I've been gone for a little bit, not just from this channel for the past 6 months, but from tennis itself. I've literally only picked up a racket twice in the last 5 months. Now, this journey I've been on completely consumed me, but what I discovered was worth stepping away for, and now I need to share it with you. So I got back into tennis in 2023 with a very simple question. What's the biggest problem in sports? Which stemmed from me trying to answer my calling of helping others become their best, which I had just found at the time. Now, this question led me down a very long and windy path that led me to making this channel how it is today. And along with my new purposeful tennis journey, it's a hard word there, I learned a lot. After a year of analyzing my own journey of trying to reach my fullest tennis potential, which I'm still trying to do, by the way, I felt like I'd found the biggest problem. And that was the ineffective learning that causes the plateaus we experience when we're trying to reach our goals over here. So when I shifted this channel to teaching the things that I'd been learning, I had this really great plan for how to structure the flow of the content that I was going to be releasing. First, I teach you what to learn, the technique for like effortless power and playing more relaxed and having a good time on the court and using your hips to hit the ball differently. Very different than how you hear it from most channels out there, and how I find playing the game of tennis is most enjoyable. After this, I would then show you how to learn effectively. That way I could help you break through plateaus faster than ever. Then we would cover the physical game, the strategical game, and all the other fun stuff. But something happened when I started diving into the how to learn part. So I was trying to make the best content for you guys, seriously. So on top of looking back at my own journey to see what I had been going through to try to get better and improve, I also went into very deep end of studying the neuroscience of effective learning. And I began applying the insights that I had from my own journey and the science that I was studying on my own students. And honestly, the results were remarkable. I was really amazed at myself just from what I was seeing going on. I mean, I still remember this guy. He's only been playing for a year and a half, and I never seen someone have such an amazing forehand after 3 weeks of work. So I began programming an app to systematize this learning protocol. And when I was doing that, I began to see patterns that I hadn't noticed before. Now, the simple question about sports led me to something much deeper than just how to learn effectively. I began seeing it really as an entire process, from what we choose to be curious about and how we study these things effectively, to how we discover new insights through our studies and then share these insights with the world. I started writing a book about this process because I wanted to make it crystal clear on how it works. And I wanted it to not just be for students and teachers to learn and guide effectively, but for anyone that was looking to reach their full potential. But as I was writing the book, I kept seeing something really interesting. And every time I was getting to this core block of whatever I was writing about, be it stories or the shadow or goals, I kept getting to this thing called distinction. Before, after, here, there, now, then. And eventually I got to this idea of awareness, this thing that precedes everything I was writing about in the book. And, it was so fundamental. I still remember like sitting there in the cafe as I'm writing, and I had to rechange the format of the book. It was my third time I had to change the format of the book. And so it became evident to me that it just was not about learning, creating, or sharing knowledge anymore. I was actually discovering something way more fundamental about the human experience itself. And this discovery transformed my understanding of how our perceived reality works, how we shape this reality, and then how we take action in it. And I discovered this fundamental framework that shows how every action we take whether it's hitting a tennis ball or deciding what to eat for breakfast or making a life decision that's super impactful, like trying to find your calling, is aligned with things so deep in our head, and that we would hardly ever be able to be aware of them. That is until we become aware of these things that I call the back of head filters. Now, when I realized this, I realized that we have the power to shape our reality and bend it to our will. So I'll give you a concrete example. You know how in tennis, when you're trying to hit too hard, you're trying to hit the perfect shot, which I'm always doing, you tense up and everything falls apart. You start feeling that relaxed shape and then like, oh, am I doing it perfect? Am I not? And then it starts to, not be that way. But when you're just present and you're just aware of the ball and the body, things start to flow naturally when the mind becomes empty. Now, the same pattern shows up in everything. When you're in a meeting trying too hard to come up with the perfect answer, your mind freezes. When you're on a date trying too hard to say the right thing, the conversation feels forced and she can tell, or he can tell. Now, when you're just simply aware, when you're just present without forcing, everything flows. Your natural capabilities start to express themselves without effort or without feeling like there's effort being applied. That's where you start to get this idea of effortless effort, effortless action. Now, this isn't some mystical concept. It's very practical, it's very real. And the way that I got there was all very fascinating. And I've been able to test this in tennis, in business, in my conversations, in every area of life. And the technique I've been teaching you for effortless power, it's not just a tennis technique. It's a life technique. It's about stripping away all of the artificial stuff we piled on top of our natural abilities. Just like in the stroke, I broke it down to very simplistic stuff because that's the core essence of what remains when you strip away everything. So as my book has evolved from just being about effective learning to this fundamental framework that is guiding everything we do in our life, I just couldn't help but share it with you now. So the book is called Stop Looking, Start Seeing, the hidden formula guiding every decision you make. And it shows how these principles work on and off the court. With less emphasis on tennis, but I tell the story a lot of the stuff through my tennis journey. Now here's what's wild. I didn't set out to write this book. I really didn't. I was working on something completely different, but as I applied this first principles thinking throughout the book to what I was seeing, this framework revealed itself to me. It was like it was already there, waiting to be discovered. So what does this mean for you and me going forward on this channel? Well, I'm still passionate about tennis, and I still plan to produce hundreds of videos like I described earlier, the coming series. But now I'm seeing how it all connects to something much bigger, and how these same principles that help you hit with effortless power can help you live with effortless purpose. But I am starting a new channel, as I'm also truly passionate about how we can use this framework to connect back to being human and naturally curious and finding meaning again. And third, I've started setting up a newsletter where I'll be sharing chapters as I finalize them over the next week. So you'll get the entire book piece by piece before anyone else when you join this newsletter. Plus, you're going to get insights into how all of this stuff about this awareness and this action and effortless being will connect back to your tennis and your performance. So think of it as your compass, not just on the court, but in everything life throws at you. So I'm very excited to share everything I've learned and transform your entire approach to tennis, learning, creating, and being. The link is in the description. Thanks for sticking with me because the best is yet to come.